Welcome to our talk. So I'm sorry that the break is a bit shorter. It wasn't me. And I hope that the coffee starts working. Well, I follow the tradition to say that we are super happy to being here. It's a bit different instead of sitting at home in front of the notebook, talking in a microphone and looking at a camera. So why we are here? We did a great project together. So it's me, Anton. I'm from Cloudflight. I'm a member of the management board of Cloudflight Austria. We talk about later on a bit more. And I'm here together with our customer, of our clients from the ITSV, the IT service of the Austrian insurance, social insurance, to be clear, with Dominik Biswanger and Alexander Zeiss. What we want to show you today is how we rethought, redesigned, and also re-implemented a very important and also a very important administrative process in the Austrian public insurance, social insurance, and the huge impact for every Austrian citizen. For that, we prepared an agenda for the day. We start with a short intro, who we are, then why Kai. At the moment, you do not know what is Kai, but don't worry, we'll find out. Finally, an impact, what changed since Kai is implemented, and finally, a conclusion. I also added a point 0 because I think it's good to make clear what is this talk about. So this is not a marketing talk. We're talking about a real project. We're talking about hard facts, what the challenge has been, which pain points we had in the project. And we also defined what is not the goal of the project. So we are not doing an introduction of AI basic knowledge or tell you about NLU, NLPs, and natural language processing and understanding frameworks. And if you're interested in these topics, there's more or less the Austrian delegation there. Please come to our roundtable later on, or let's have a chat later outside. And very important, we are not here to tell you that everything is super simple and super easy, because it's not true. Dominik.
Thank you, Tony. Alex and me are part of ITSV. In German, it's IT Services der Sozialversicherungen. And we are part of the Austrian social security system, and for all 3 areas of the social security system, for the health, for the accident, and for the pension insurance. And therefore, we are offering a wide range of services for them. We are controlling and operating data centers, delivering software solutions, and of course, project management and several service lines. We were founded in 2004. The growth was very, very high in the first years, and we are currently employing approximately 870 employees. And the nice fact of this is that every Austrian citizen, we are serving 8.8 million insurance in Austria, has direct or indirect contact points with us. For example, with the digital health record. But also a part is that we are not really visible for the public. We are an important IT backbone for the Austrian social security system, but not very visible for the public. And of course, we are managing one of the most sensible data in Austria, the health data. So therefore, it's important that we are standardized by several ISO norms.
Then I continue and tell you just 2-3 sentences about Cloudflight. Cloudflight was founded 2007, so roughly 15 years ago, by one person. In the meanwhile, we are over 900 people. We are a leading company in custom software development in Central Europe. We are acting in 5 countries with 15, 16 locations now. And we are focused on long-term partnerships. And this is exactly what we have together with the ITSV in Austria. And why we are expert in doing that? Because we cover the the whole process of a software development. So we start from the digital strategy with requirement engineering, with designing user experience, coding, so big passion, and finally also operating. So we are doing operating on cloud platforms on premise, so for especially in Kubernetes or on top on OpenShift, but also we are Microsoft Gold partner for Azure. Okay, let's start.
Okay.
Alexander.
Okay, thank you, Tony. And I'm waiting for the slide. Yeah, thanks. Okay. Before I dive deep into the application and into the challenges we face, I give you a short introduction of the reimbursement in Austrian social security and the two categories of practitioners we have in Austria. The first one are the contractual partners. As insurance, if you go to that kind of doctor for consuming services, you don't have to pay anything. Precisely, you don't have to pay directly, you pay indirectly because of your Austrian social security contributions. And second category are non-contractual partners. If you go to that sort of doctors or practitioners, you get an invoice and you have to pay that invoice. That's the downside. But hey, there's also an upside. You can submit this invoice to the Austrian Social Security and get a reimbursement for that. It's part of the contractual fees. It's about 80% currently. But the reimbursement is a highly manual process with a lot of media disruptions, but sorry, it was a highly manual process with a lot of media disruption because this was the reason for us to develop our application Kai. And Tony, can you explain the initial problem?
Yeah, that leads us to the initial problem. So Alexander already mentioned the two options that you have in Austria to have access to the Austrian to a doctor. The thing is that so we call elective doctors are getting more popular because they are not that regulated, and it's more lucrative for a doctor to acting as an elective doctor. But yes, then you get an invoice in paper and you put it in an envelope and send it to the social insurance. And this is just an illustration, but it more or less looked like that, how a workplace looked before we introduced our new system. And it's all about the reimbursement of the invoices. And we already mentioned some numbers. We are talking here about 5 million submissions in 2021, and then a growth of 8% per year. And yeah, that leads to a lot of pain points.
Yeah, so we had a lot of pain points that we had to encounter. Non-digitalized documents were common. I give you a short insight of how the old process went. The insurance goes to the doctor, gets an invoice, and sends it to the Social Security. So the hard copy documents land in the office. There the post office opens it, sorts it, collects it, and brings it into the department. There the employee puts it on his desk, reads it, types in information from this document into the IT system. The document lands in another department, the hard copy document, and so on and so on. And in the end, the documents land in a carton box somewhere in the cellar. So this brings me to the second pain point, the archiving of the documents. These millions of documents landed in the cellar in carton boxes, and it was pretty difficult to find a document. For example, when an insurance placed an inquiry for a case, the employees had to go down and sort thousands of boxes of invoices. And further on, the storage costs, of course, of these documents was very high. The second big pain point was the high proportion of the manual data processing. You have to imagine the employees sit on their desk and they type in much of simple data. Yeah? They see numbers, type in the numbers in the computer system, they see names, type in this. This costs time. It's not very challenging and even frustrating for the employees. And of course, the money which would be generated by this time could be used otherwise more. So because of this slow process, the Austrian social security system was not able to gather this workload to encounter it. Because the backlog was increasing more and more. Like Tony said, the insurance go more often to the doctors, to the elective doctors, and the admissions grow more and more over the years. And it was not manageable with the employees anymore. Of course, you could hire more employees for processing the cases, but this would not be the best solution, and it would be a bottomless pit. So something had to be done to encounter this problem, and the low level of the digitization and automation led to gather the new time for a new way of administrative automation. And of course, that we can overcome these pain points, there were a lot of challenges we faced. At first, the formal challenges, it was for us not easy to find the right partner for this project. It was very clear at the beginning of the tender that we would face a very complex environment, and this was not only considered by us, but also by the competing companies for the tender.
Exactly. So what the ITSV did really well, they did a proof of concept during the tender phase that we had to do that matched the approach scope later on really well. So it was already in the phase of the tender that we had to prove that we are able to do such a project, that we are focused on AI, that we can deal with text recognition, with entity recognition, and so on. And it was also challenging for us in the beginning because we had not a big focus on health projects, and for us it was very important to learn the domain-specific vocabulary very quickly, because doctors like to name things how they want to name them, so they have a lot of abbreviations. And for us, for building up a neural network to automatically recognize things, we had to build a big dictionary for automatically matching.
Okay, now I come to the technicality topic. As Dominik described before, we're working in the public sector, and I think in the public sector a lot of guidelines, and a few guidelines are providing stability. That's the upside. Yeah, stability is a good thing, but downside from stability can be that it's prevent innovation, for example, or hinder innovation. And I have a fine example for you. That's a document in the ITSV that's called Release-Schein. That's the German word. You can imagine that as a kind of checklist, and on this checklist there are a lot of components. For example, programming languages, application servers, database engines, and so on and so on. And if you want to develop an application for ITSV, you're only allowed to use components which are listed on that checklist. And I remember when we first met our partner, Cloudflight, and Dr. Ogris is also here in the audience today. And I showed Dr. Ogris this Release-Schein, this checklist, and he said, hey, oh my gosh, are you serious? We are bound on that checklist. It's impossible. A lot of components are completely outdated. Do something. I saw a little bit of fear in his eyes, and the following 2 weeks was really hard work for me, because I had to convince the whole management, the company, that we are not bound on that release, and we can use components which are the best for the application and not completely following this guideline. Safety first is the next topic. I think all of you have to have been on the health data safety. It's a completely no-brainer. Exactly. We have a lot of experience of about 20 years right now, handle health data, but there was another topic inside, and at the project start, the legal team told us we are not allowed to use cloud services, because there are a lot of providers like Google, Amazon, or what's the third one? Google, Amazon,
Other companies.
Sorry, that's microphone. Other companies, but that would be an easy shortcut because these companies provide a lot of services, but we are not allowed to use them. So all of our services had to be on premise. So it was also there was also a highly impact of the system architecture. Okay.
Yeah, and another big challenge, for example, was the change management. One of the biggest challenges was not on the technical side; it was on the change management side. It was a new process for the employees. It was a new IT system. It was a new technology, and above all, it was a new level of trust in computer systems. And this was very difficult to encounter this fact. And one of the key messages here is don't underestimate the human factor. Because the employees had to get used to the system, and the new level of trust was not only important in the operational stuff for the end users, but also for the management. And the last challenge, and Alex told us before, we work in the public sector, and organizationally here a lot of challenges we had to encounter. Austria is divided into 9 states. There's one reimbursement process all over Austria, but of course all of the 9 states handle this process a little bit different, so we had to consider these challenges when approaching.
Exactly. So now we know the status quo. We know what have been the pain points, what are the challenges, and finally we had to decide what can we do to create an environment that helps us to win. We as partner of the ITSV, we had to create an environment where we can develop, where we can work together, and with these 6 points, we want to just give you an overview how we did it. So first, we said we have to know our technical limits. We are good in development, so we knew that building a web UI will not be the challenge for us, to be honest. But building an AI system that automatically extracts data from invoice in a structured way, from unstructured data to information from a sheet of paper to a structured format, this is something you have to prove with the data you have. So we took 2,000, 3,000 invoices and start to annotate them, start to find out what's on there, and try with all the magic behind the artificial intelligence, is it possible to reach KPIs there? Because it should be better afterwards, and the results should help the people to get rid of this boring work. And for that, we implemented a special benchmarking for the KPIs. So every new invoice is challenged against the benchmark. Are we good enough to publish such a system? Because we have just one chance to publish such a system, because if your customer or your people that are working with, if they are against it in the first minute, you lose. It's not important how much effort you invest in front. And how we did it.
Yeah, a crucial topic for in my opinion is agile, be agile, because in our company before we start with that project, the waterfall paradigm was quite strong. But for me, it's important to ship to deliver as fast as possible the MVP, the minimum viable product, to get feedback from the customer, to check are we still on track, does the process work, or do we modify something. There's one sentence, I know it's really hackneyed right now, but I really like it. This means if you fail fast. Because if something wrong, I want to know it now and not after developing application a year.
Yeah, and of course the stakeholder communication was also one of the key factors. Communication is the key, and especially in projects like these, stakeholder communication was not only done by me as project manager, it was done by the whole project team, by the developers. They were close in contact with our end users, and it was very important that the ultimate goal, that the reimbursement process had to be done faster and our end customers had to be happier. That just means that they get the money faster, that everything was aligned for this goal.
Mm-hmm. Using the right technology, this is a good point. if you're familiar with the field of AI, you know that there is a new framework published nearly every week. So if you have time to experiment, then you can just experiment nearly the whole year. But if you do that, probably you will not hit the goal. And so we said we have to come to the point where we say, now our decision is made in stone, but we're able to later on to question it, but we can't do it on the whole way of the project, because finally we will not have a result afterwards. And that also leads me to the last point. We started not having a vision statement. Everybody says it's not necessary. We have a tender, it's all written down. But to be honest, what's written in the tender is not valid on the next day anymore, because a project changes scope nearly every sprint. And then we said we need a vision statement to define how we work together, and for more important, to align the project to keep to the people in the project to be focused. Because a typical project has three very important factors: when, was, and how much. And if you don't challenge everything you do, if the thing you do is paying towards the goal, then you will lose time. Losing time means money. Losing time means also costs. And so this was very important to say every user story in the agile process and also every APIC, does it really help us to reach our goal? And that helps us to keep focused over during the whole development process. Yes, and I think you're waiting for, because we want to show a bit more, because sorry, it was the wrong direction. I'm already a bit surprised. So now, green slide again.
Okay.
Alexander.
Yeah, thanks a lot. There you see the Kai process. The Kai process is roughly divided into 4 steps. The first step is the automatic collection of documents. Currently, we have 3 input channels. We have one for the postal stuff, one for email, and one for Meine SV, that's a mobile app in Austria. And for email, for example, we are connected to the group mailboxes of the Austrian Social Security local offices, and automatically classify if a mail is relevant for reimbursement or not. If it's relevant, we get that email and processing the case. And for the postal stuff, for example, the first step will be that the document, the paper sheets get scanned to have it in a digitalized way. The second step is the processing of the documents and the creation of the reimbursement case. I will explain it on the next slide a little bit more in detail, so I will skip it here. The third step is a kind of an optional step, because we measure our own quality. We have made a model how high the probability is that the employee has to modify information in that case. And if this model decides, hey, the quality is sufficient, the case is sent directly to the billing system. If there's something to do for the employee can do this with us, with our user interface, and hand over to the fourth step, and closing the case and making the customer happy. You can see the customer on the right side on the bottom. Okay. So as promised, a little bit more in detail regarding the processing of the documents. The level 0 you see on the bottom only affects the postal stuff. All other input channels starts from level 1 upwards. So in the level 0 you have the sheet of paper. It gets scanned, and at the level 1 all of the documents are in a digital format. Yeah, and from level 1 to level 2, the Kai magic starts. For example, we have a model to determine the document types. Sorry, because there are not only invoices, we also have payment confirmations, for example, medical referments and other documents. And we have a model to classify these documents, to know which document we currently processing. Also, the pre-processing takes place because we upscale the quality of the images, for example, or modifying the contrast. And the goal for that pre-processing is to improve the quality for the OCR, so from the image to the text transformation. So on point 2, you have the complete text from all documents, and the named entity recognition starts. So after the named entity recognition, we know all information which are relevant for the reimbursement process. We know who is the customer, who is the practitioner, who is the patient, who is the insurance. We know also some information like invoice amount. And I described it before. We know also which document type you have. And if we find, for example, 100 euro on the invoice and 100 euro on the payment confirmation, we can mark that case as paid. And some special entities here are services and diagnosis, because, for example, regarding diagnosis, practitioner can name a diagnosis as he or she wants. He can write, or she can write cold, for example, but cold is not a standardized text regarding diagnosis. So we map that term cold, for example, to, I think it's rhinitis for the ICD-10 catalog, and also the code for them. Services as well. So the practitioner can name the service as he wants. And we map that text into the service catalogs from the local state office. As Dominik mentioned, we have 9 of them. Also, there's some functionality in Kai to detect handwritten information, stamps. A special feature there is, for example, if we detect a handwritten IBAN, we also transform this one in a readable format, so that it can be processed. And yeah, the final step to boost the quality really in a good way is that we validate all the information with our master data management systems around. Because if, for example, if we find an insurance named Alexander Zeiss and also on the invoice there's my address, we can query this master data management system to ask, is there a person with that name and with that address? And if yes, the probability is very high that this information is correct.
Yeah, of course we have a really cool user interface, but regarding time, I will skip this step a little bit, and I'm sure we have time in the roundtables and later on to discuss this a little bit more. But in general, the user interface is divided into 2 parts. On the right-hand side, you see the documents which were scanned or submitted by email or our online portal. And on the left-hand side is the generated data, which Alex described, which was automatically generated and validated with the master data management systems. And the employee has to check this information, but in the best possible way. Like Alex said, the employee has to do nothing because he never gets seen this user interface, because the case was already sent by our automatic module.
So the last step, so it's me to cross the finish line. We started with pain points, and we titled the slides with no more pains. That's a bit of marketing, to be honest. But we tried to compare what have been the pain points and what now is the solution for it. So we are fully paperless. We achieved an automated archiving of all the data in a digital form. For employees, life is more easier, or they can focus on let's say the work they really want to do, and not just typing from a paper sheet into a web form. This is not necessary anymore. On the other hand, we provide an expert system for them, for the employee, because they get a suggestion for the reimbursement rate, what they have to enter to decide what finally get paid out. And last but not least, it is also easier to find people and bring people into the work, because it's with the suggestions, it's not that necessary to be on such a high level of the knowledge of the domain-specific vocabulary. So this is what we achieved there. Also regarding innovation, I dare to say development and publishing a a software solution for that. This has an impact for every Austrian citizen. Is really on a high level of innovation. We mentioned some points. It was also very easy for us to switch for the people to switch the home office, because now you do not have to go to the office and take a big amount of paper with you home. So this is all the things that we solved there. And our last slide is just a summary. Just to give some numbers, we are now processing over 8,000 documents. We save time, roughly 90% with Kai. And roughly every year, 8% of the number of invoices is growing. But I think more important is that there was a backlog of 6 months of work. So if you submit an invoice, you wait 6 or 8 months to get a feedback, how much money you get. And now we process the invoices on the same workday, or at least on the next workday. And this is the huge impact. And this is why we can say that Kai is a big game changer in the process of the Austrian social insurance. That's it. Thank you.